Extremely colorful and bright geometric patterns, more beautiful than most have ever seen, appear. Visions of serpents or snakes are also common, and it is believed by many that this is the manifestation or presence of the spirit of ayahuasca. But more important than the visions themselves is the ability to communicate with ayahuasca's great spirit, which helps heal the individual, open their mind to the true nature and spiritual essence of all things and the interconnectivity of the universe, as well as instill a profound sense of self-awareness. Ayahuasca is said to cause a merging of the conscious world and the dream world. Shamans also tell that through ayahuasca they are able to leave the body and enter entirely different worlds. Occasionally people will complain that they feel as if they are dying while under ayahuasca's influence. This is actually a self or ego death and not the experience of death of the body. In hospital settings, Dr. Rick Strassman has documented numerous accounts of such effects as those produced by ayahuasca during his DMT trials in the 90s. During these experiments, he would give his patients a dose of purified DMT suspended in saline solution and administered by IV. He would then take notes on the outcomes. Some experiences included phrases such as, "I've learned what it is like to die," subjectively knowing the phenomenon described in Introductions to the Dead and the Tibetan Book of the Dead, along with feelings of practicing death and rebirth, as well as seeing tunnels of light and experiencing the presence of all-knowing, all-loving beings. There are also many other unique discoveries and experiences, such as the apparent therapeutic use of DMT, found within many of the pages of Strassman's book, DMT, The Spirit Molecule. A small number of groups within and outside the United States have received legal permission to use consciousness-altering substances for religious use. The Native American Church has had the right for many years to use peyote. This right was secured by the American Indian Religious Freedom Act of 1994. The Aquarian Tabernacle Wiccan Church in recent years has been given permission to use psilocybin mushrooms, and more recently certain groups and churches, including the UDV in the UK and Santo Domingue, have been allowed to legally cook and use ayahuasca. Let's reflect on the common characteristics of the use of the previous three substances. The people that use them do so either to heal the body, heal the soul, to communicate with spiritual beings, or to seek spiritual knowledge. This is always done in a ceremonial or ritualistic fashion, for they believe that something spiritual is taking place, and is done in a natural setting, perhaps because in a lot of ways these people worship the earth. There is always a spiritual leader of some kind present when the substance is taken, though in the Amazon, shaman may occasionally take ayahuasca by themselves. Other methods of inducing and facilitating trance or altered consciousness are employed, such as drumming, singing, dancing, and fasting. A clear intention is always maintained before and during the experience. These substances are never taken for recreational use. Each of the three plants we investigated have some things in common in terms of what tribes people say they teach. Though Iboga seems to bring one into harmony with themselves, peyote bestows understanding of reverence for earth and universe, and ayahuasca brings one face to face with true nature of spirit. Each of them have underlying themes of the interconnectivity of all things, allowing communication with spiritual beings, teaching to live in harmony with nature, and their use as a medicine. In an age where many individuals feel disconnected from spiritual nature yet find little value in organized religion, these potent psychoactive substances may offer the potential of reconnecting or revitalizing on a personal and spiritual level. They also seem to have the power to remind us that we are not separate from nature. We are just another animal on this planet, that all things are connected, and there is existence of greater consciousness out there somewhere. Thank you.
Data has been arriving about the practices of Aboriginal cultures all over the planet, that they dissolve ordinary realities, ordinary cultural values, through an interaction, a symbiosis, a relationship to local plants that perturb brain chemistry. And in this domain of perturbed brain chemistry, the cultural operating system is wiped clean, and something older even for these people. Something older, more vitalistic, more in touch with the animal soul replaces it, replaces the cultural operating system. Something not determined by history and geography, but something writ in the language of the flesh itself. This is who you are. This is true nakedness. You are not naked when you take off your clothes. You still wear your religious assumptions, your prejudices, your fears, your illusions, your delusions. When you shed the cultural operating system, then essentially you stand naked before the inspection of your own psyche. Desmond Morris called it the naked ape. And it's from that position, a position outside the cultural operating system, that we can begin to ask real questions about what does it mean to be human, what kind of circumstance are we caught in, and what kind of structures, if any, can we put in place to assuage the pain and accentuate the glory and the wonder that lurks waiting for us in this very narrow slice of time between the birth canal and the yawning grave. In other words, we have to return to first premises. So I've been thinking about this a lot, and at first it seemed to me only a metaphor, this phrase, culture is your operating system. But because I travel around a lot and get that jolting experience frequently of, let's say, leaving London on a foggy evening and arriving in Johannesburg 14 hours later to a sweltering day in a city of 14 million on the brink of anarchy, I get to change my operating system frequently. And so I notice the relativity of these systems. And some work for some things and some for others. For instance, if you are a positivist, if you're running Positivism 4.0, you can't support UFOs. Positivism 4.0 does not support UFOs. If, on the other hand, you're running your Rancha book 5.1 as your operating system, UFOs and a number of other things can get in through the door. That is what we would technically say is a more tolerant operating system, or its plug-in support special effects denied the positivist. Well, it's fun to think this way because it shows you that you don't have to be the victim of your culture. It's not like your eye color or your height or your gender. It's fragile. It can be remade if you wish it to be. And then the question is, well, how does one download a new operating system? Well, first of all, you have to clear some space on your disk. The best way to do this is probably with a pharmacological agent. You think of some while I have a drink of water. Psilocybin is an excellent disk cleaner. You can put a lot of things in the trash and have them just disappear with a psilocybin upgrade. Other pharmacological agents that will clear your disk are ayahuasca. And of course, these are gentle clearings of the disk, which take 5, 6, 7 hours. If you're in a hurry to dump that old data and leap right into the new operating system, click on the button marked dimethyltryptamine. A compressed disk erasure will immediately be downloaded, unstuffed, bin-hexed, implemented, installed, run, and you will find yourself with an entirely different head. Now, shamans have always known, though they may not have used the kind of language I'm using here, shamans have always known this trick. What trick? It has two facets. first of all, that culture is an operating system. That's all it is. And that the operating system can be wiped out and replaced by something else. So, in essentially, what's going on among shamans and those who resort to them for curing and counseling and so forth is somebody's running a slightly more advanced operating system than the customer. The shaman is in possession of certain facts about plants, about animals, about healing, about human psychology, about the local geography, about mojo of many different sorts that the client is not aware of. The client is running culture light. The shaman paid for the registered and licensed version of the software and is running a much heavier version of the software than the client. I think we should all aspire to make this upgrade. It's very important that you have all the bells and whistles on your operating system. Otherwise, somebody is going to be able to get a leg up on you. Well, what's wrong with the operating system that we have? Consumer capitalism 5.0 or whatever it is. Well, it's dumb. It's retro. It's very non-competitive. It's messy. It wastes the environment. It wastes human resources. It's inefficient. It runs on stereotypes. It runs on a low sampling rate, which is what creates stereotypes. Low sample rates make everybody appear alike, when in fact the glory is in everyone's differences. And the current operating system is flawed. It actually has bugs in it that generate contradictions. Contradictions such as we're cutting the earth from beneath our own feet. We're poisoning the atmosphere that we breathe. This is not intelligent behavior. This is a culture with a bug in its operating system that's making it produce erratic, dysfunctional, malfunctional behavior. Time to call a tech. And who are the techs? The shamans are the techs.
Turn on, tune in, drop out.